Hello, and you're very welcome to the JMac podcast. I'm John Man. Of course, this podcast is brought to you by orgurch.com. Use the code JMac podcast, get 15% off on the website. Loads of gear just in time dropping on the website for the championship. So get your hands on it and use the code JMac podcast to get 15% off all the gear. And tonight I'm joined by GA Statsman Matthew Hurley to talk about, of course, last weekend's championship action and, of course, this weekend's championship action. It's coming up towards the JMac holiday. The weather's good and the form is good. I hope, Matthew. How are you?
All good now, John. Yeah, as you said, the weather's good. Cork are winning in the football, and Cavan have 2 wins in a row as well. So all good on both sides of our fence here. And looking forward to the chat.
Oh yeah, 100%. Have you enjoyed the last few good days? I think it's obviously going to be given a good week. Currently 18 degrees here in Cavan, so we've been absolutely blessed with it. But so, any plans for this week with the good weather, or work, or how are you fixed?
Geez, I'd say going to the minor now on Friday against Kerry and Tralee. Going to the scene in Cork against Kerry on Saturday. So in the All Ireland Senior Football Championship. So yeah. I don't know. That's not a double header, to be honest with you. Look, it's the GA scheduling and all that, but that's an argument really for another day. But look, big weekend to look forward to. Like I'd imagine, I'd just counties involved next weekend. So big week. Everyone around the country.
Yeah. Like in fairness, I sent like the schedule in for this weekend. Like you have so much sport. Of course, we'll touch on the games now in a few minutes, and we'll go through them all. And but God, I think on Saturday you literally have 4 games live. I think on GA Go. Is that like I think I'm correct in saying that? So feast of football away to Swimman, and we cannot wait for it. And the weather's good. Football is coming thick and fast, and we cannot give out. We have very little to give out about it at the minute. Only maybe the style of football at the minute, but we'll get into that match. I suppose a bit of housekeeping before we get the ball rolling tonight. The GA.ie Player of the Week nominees are Shane McGuigan of Derry, Roscommon's Kieran Murtagh, and Cork's Brian Hurley. I suppose you tweeted me earlier on about Brian Hurley, but pledged you being the Player of the Weekend. You weren't far wrong as usual, Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, I just said it really because he came back from injury, and I expected a big game out of Brian Hurley, and he delivers. Yeah, 8 points. Very, very good performance. But to be fair to Murtagh, very good in Croke Park against Roscommon, or against Dublin, should I say. And McGuigan, excellent as always. Like our Derry 2 reliant on him. Maybe so. 9 points out of 14, I think it was, which was an incredible statistic, really. But Brian Hurley, what a performance from him. And I did call about the Westmeath game as well in my bet of the week. So, it wasn't a bad prediction after all.
Yeah, Westmeath absolutely could have bet Armagh as well. Like they were so close, and I think a lot of people didn't give Westmeath. I know Westmeath is a poor league, not a great Leinster championship, but they have a lot of good footballers, as we've seen on Saturday. The likes of Ronan O'Toole, the timeless John Heslin, Maguire coming from full back. Like Westmeath are blessed with talent, so I think they might surprise us yet. Westmeath, they've a lot of talent. Obviously, Jason Sherlock in the coaching end of things too, so he will definitely be giving them a good hand. I suppose who would you tip your hat to for Player of the Week, Mr. Hurley?
I went with the player last week, so I'm going to stick with him. I'm going to go for Brian Hurley. Maybe might be a bit biased now, but I thought he was just very, very good on Saturday. He had 10 shots, kicked 8. Brilliant performance from him. You can't really complain. And a guy that's come back from injury. When you look at Cork's 3 games at 4, Brian Hurley came back to fitness. They drew 1 and lost 2, and he's come back now. They win it. So he's definitely a big player for Cork. But I'd like to see against Kerry now on Saturday, Sherlock and Hurley in the same. Will we see that? I'm not sure. But it's great to have him back. What a player he is. But my own boy's hat on, it probably has to be Wigan. 9 points. What a performance. Ultimately carrying once again. Yeah,
McGuigan was absolutely superb for Derry at the weekend. Left foot, right foot, it really is no bother to him. In fairness, all 3 men, McGuigan, Murtagh and Hurley, they all had terrific games, and you really would not be surprised if any of them pick up the word. But that wouldn't be a very nice full forward line to have, Mr. Hurley.
Jeez, that would be a very, very tasty forward line. No, in fairness, Murtagh has been absolutely brilliant this year. For share for Roscommon as well. I remember him against Galway early on in the championship. What a performance, and what a performance again on Sunday. And ultimately, Roscommon's players seem to be very, very underrated, I think. Players like Donny Smith, Conor Cox. Conor Cox can't even start for Roscommon, which tells you all you need to know. So, brilliant joins from Roscommon. McGuigan, what a player this guy is. And just oozing class. Like, a lot of people are saying that Derry aren't reliant on McGuigan, but Saturday night kind of showed that there's still that issue with Derry as a team. No question about McGuigan's quality. What a player he is. And I remember him actually coming down to Parky Keefe to play Cork, and he was absolutely incredible that day as well. Now, even season 3, this guy has something special in him, and he's definitely showing in club level for Sean Neal as well. So, brilliant player. Probably one of the best in the country, I think.
Yeah, I think you'd even give Mr. David Clifford I know Clifford's fairly far out ahead, but McGuigan is in sensational form at the weekend. I think low people, this the power, well, I wouldn't say the power of social media, but the dark side of social media, I don't know, Matthew, did you see the tweet of some man just saying that McGuigan looked frustrated after the game because he's getting mauled by kids and kids kind of coming up to him and frustrated, but I don't know, I suppose, okay, it's great to look after the kids, sign the jerseys, give the autographs, give away a pair of gloves, etc., but sometimes in the heat of the moment, the game's just over. You've emptied the tank for about 75 minutes, 76 minutes. I know kids are kids. But can you understand maybe from Quick that, it's just not going on to mind? He just wants to maybe shake hands with his teammates and kind of just finish up the game and get home, or be thinking of that, or just the people just being a bit given out the whole time?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It really is a tough one. Like, I've seen so many examples of players just not want to be involved with fans at the end of the game. Like maybe it's just that he's the moment that's in there. Like, it was a draw at the end of the day. Like, it was a game for Derry to get over. So you can understand McGuigan's frustration. But on the power of social media, I think we went through that last week with Johnny and Kevin and Mal there as well. Like, it's a big thing in the GA at the moment, and I know this is away from football, but the hurling, I noticed a lot of hate going towards James Owens, the referee for Cork Limerick yesterday. It was uncalled for. It was, and it's a big issue in the GA at the moment. Like, people probably need to think before they type at the same time, and that's a big thing in the GA at the moment. And the sooner we fix that, the better. And it's kind of hard as well, John, to identify these people, because most people with comments are just people behind a blank screen, and it's the thing with social media. It is a dangerous business, and we've been saying that week in, week out as well. And unfortunately, it'll be a common theme in the summer by the looks of the early indications, unfortunately.
Yeah, just you've probably had this conversation before, but it's the ones behind the fake screens. And in fairness, this tweet by Shane McGuigan, like, someone obviously did, like, it was from an original account, but I don't know, sometimes inter-county players, I think we need to give them a bit of credit for what they do, and a bit of space after games, and no kids, and fair play to them coming onto the pitch. But I think there's a time and place at the best times, because I suppose players just want to get that bit of a break after games. But we will wait and see as the summer goes on. I suppose, Matthew, we can crack into the action on Saturday in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship round 1 in Celtic Park. It was Derry 14 points, Monaghan 14 points. I suppose we're after talk about the man of the moment, Shane McGuigan, man of the match performance, kicking points to beat the band. Carol Connolly kicking an outrageous point at the end to equalise the game, to draw it up, and to get Monaghan that draw that they probably did deserve. The game definitely probably did deserve then in the draw, but a great game of football, Matthew, it has to be said.
Unbelievable game of football, I have to say. Well, the quality maybe not so, but the intensity was absolutely very, very good. Like, even the Derry Monaghan game in the Ulster Championship, by that logic, a lot of people would have thought that Derry would have steamrolled them, and I would have thought really the same thing. But Monaghan just added an extra intensity. Like, when you look at the Ulster semi-final, the turnover count was Derry 15, Monaghan 9. In this game, Monaghan won 10 turnovers to 8. And that just shows you the intensity was there for Monaghan from the word go. And even when you look at the RT analysts afterwards analysing the game, Rory Bacon was actually taking risks in this game. The defenders were taking risks. They were making extra steps forward, and they were very, very good against Derry, I have to say, who were largely reliant on the man of the moment, as we mentioned earlier, McGuigan, 9 points. I think it was 3 for play as well. Incredible performance. Lachlan Murray, Eden Doherty, and Ciara McFaul scoring as well. But like, without McGuigan, where would Derry be at this moment? Like, he's an incredible footballer. I'd be interested to hear Mal's point of view on this, because he's just an incredible footballer. But would Derry struggle without him? That's the big thing. But Carl O'Connell, it was kind of fitting in the end that he got the winning point, because he was the one fella in the Ulster Championship game that took it to Derry. And for an equalising score like that, brilliant score at the end. That I wouldn't be surprised if Monaghan go on atop this group now. Like it was a major step of intent to go and draw this game. Like the other teams, Donegal and Clare, you'd have to imagine that Derry and Monaghan would both beat those sides. Derry aren't scoring as freely. Like that's 2 games in a row now with Seamus Brady from Clay on GA pointed out earlier on that they've scored less than 15 points, which is a worry, I think, for Kieran Mina, really, for Derry. So I would say like Derry are a bit of a lull patch at the moment, but Monaghan, like they'll be very confident going into the next few games, especially against Clare at home, by the way, and Donegal the next game after that too.
Yeah, and I suppose like this is what you would put, like you honestly after I suppose Saturday that's where you would put Derry at the minute, like a bit of a lull, a bit of a drop. Like I know obviously circumstances, and I suppose we'll not comment on them until we get maybe further clarity on all that situation with Derry's well I suppose former manager at this stage. But do you feel Derry are actually on especially after winning the championship, this is where you feel they're at the minute?
Like it's a tough one because like, when you look at the league, my honest opinion of Derry, like they had a brilliant start 15, probably one of the best starting 15s in the country. But the issue with them was, number one, they didn't get enough scores of Shane McGuigan, and that showed on Saturday night. And number two, I don't think they have the bench either. They don't have the squads of the Kerrys, the Dublins, the Mayos, the Galways to drive you on through. And yes, Derry might be a good team to get to an All-Ireland quarter-final or semi-final, but to win it, probably not. I think there is still a bit off it. Like they need further development from the likes of Owen McAvoy, Lachlan Murray, even the Downies and Matthew and Shea. They need to step up a small bit more to take the pressure off McGuigan at times. McFaul has to step up. So there's a lot of players that need to step up for Derry other than McGuigan in that team. In terms of All-Ireland semi-finalists, I think Derry could get there again. In terms of winning the All-Ireland, I still think they're a bit off. Like when you look at Dublin's squad, I know Dublin, we'll get onto them in a minute, very, very important. Kerry squad, Mayo squad, Galway's, even Roscommon's to an extent. I think Roscommon have better depth than Derry. Like Roscommon can bring on the likes of Conor Cox. Derry don't have that luxury on the bench. And that's a worry for Derry, definitely. Yes, they've won 2 Ulster titles in a row. But when you look at who they've beaten, Ulster, Monaghan, who were just off colour, really, and when you look at last season, to get to the All-Ireland semi-final, they beat a Clare team that kind of reached the top of the mountain in Croke Park. So, like, there's still a bit of questions to be answered about Derry and their All-Ireland credentials, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, a bit of help for Mr. Wigan up top is what I would be thinking. And, one forward, like I know obviously Kerry with David Clifford, like, will Mr. Clifford be able to win it by himself again? I am not overly sure, but I think I seen like a podcast earlier on, there's no real clear team at the minute you could really say, right, they're going to win Sam, especially after Dublin's performance against Roscommon, but we will touch on that game in a few minutes. But yeah, a good draw in Celtic Park, definitely a result that was warranted by both teams, and on to go to round 2. And I suppose we'll touch on to action that took place in Box at Athletic Grounds. It was Armagh 113, Westmeath 112. Armagh win by a point just at the death with a Conor Turbitt goal. Obviously, Conor Turbitt was dropped from the Ulster final. He gets the goal to win it for Armagh at the weekend. I suppose a bit of luck in that, maybe a bit of a I wouldn't like to use the phrase, but of a middle finger up the geezer, one might say. But Westmeath can take a lot of heart from this performance, Mr. Hurley. Not much hope from the media going into this game for Westmeath. They really, really did play well. The likes of, as I said off air to you, like the likes of John Heslin, Ronan O'Toole, Luke Loughlin had great games, Mr. Sam McCartan. So much talent there. So it's good to see, obviously, them utilising that. But they were so close, but Armagh just at the death.
And to be honest, like Westmeath were absolutely brilliant in this game. And you mentioned all the positives that was there for Desi Dolan on Saturday evening. But the thing was, they'll feel sickened after this. They didn't get the result that they needed. And when you look at the next 2 games for Westmeath, further on down the line, Galway and Tyrone, and realistically, they aren't getting any points. This was the game that they were going to target. And rightly so, when you look at Armagh, they put so much effort into the Ulster final. There was bound to be, a bit of a down period for Armagh. And Westmeath wanted to take advantage of that so badly. They didn't do it in the end, but you have to credit them. What a performance. Like Ronan getting that goal, it was a brilliant finish, I have to say, in the first half. John Heslin, what a player he is. Probably one of the best players out of the so-called weaker counties. Sam McCartan coming back. He didn't play in the last game against Louth, but what a performance he put in. James Dolan, very, very good performance as well. They were without Ronan Wallace, who is an influential player for Westmeath as well. So, like, they'll take a lot of heart out of this. They ultimately didn't get the result. Armagh, very, very lucky to get out of the win with the win. And the goal probably epitomised that from Conor Turbot. Well taken from him. But long ball into the square, and it works. It works a treat for them, and they win us in the end. But yeah, I think Westmeath will be absolutely devastated after this game, and Desi Dolan will think about it the same way. And when you look at the stats in this game, I looked briefly on RT because I actually didn't watch the full game. But Westmeath had 25 shots, Armagh had 22. And that probably suggested even more Westmeath missed the boat here. They missed the chance to get that win. And they absolutely devastated them because they put in a lot of this game.
Yeah. Yeah, look, in fairness, like I missed all the action on Saturday because due to other commitments. But like, oh man, like Westmeath, they play such lovely football. It was so attacking. Obviously, now I know Jason Sherrick is involved with the Westmeath team, and he'd definitely be a huge help to them. But even like Luke Loughlin kicks some unreal scores. Like John Heslin is just such a machine of a man. He's still going strong. He's still flying, getting up and down the pitch, setting up scores. And the aforementioned Mr. Sam McCartan, Ronan O'Toole, like Kevin Maguire, even coming up from the full back line, there is so much quality there that you need to very much like Roscommon, they need to utilise the players that they have.
They do, and there was a bit of question marks about Westmeath about their league campaign, and they were performing poorly. I just think they were kind of gearing up for this moment, this game against Armagh, the championship in general, because when you look at the Low game, like a lot of people criticised Desi Dolan's team after that, but the first half performance was immaculate in many ways, and they just lost their way in the second half, much like this game. And maybe that's a lesson that Desi Dolan needs to take. Like, they've outstanding players, they've outstanding athletic players, they've shooting players like Ronan O'Toole, John Hazel, Luke Loughlin, incredible shooters of the ball. But the problem is the second half, and usually the last few minutes for Westmeath, when the bodies get tired, they just can't cope. And like, it's unfortunate, really, and it probably just separates the level of Tailteann Cup and Sam Maguire, unfortunately, for Westmeath. And it's an unfortunate lesson, but I think Desi Dolan will take a lot of learnings out of this Armagh game, how to close out a game and things like that. Will they go on and sneak a point out of Galway in the Tyrone games? Probably not, but like, it's a brilliant experience for Westmeath to be in this Sam Maguire, to see where they're completely at. And look, best of luck to them, because Westmeath are brilliant. They play brilliant football. They have a brilliant man, player himself in Desi Dolan. So they definitely are in the right hands. And I think Westmeath could go well in the next few years, but just not yet. Maybe this performance, particularly towards the end, probably epitomised. They're just a bit off the stronger sides.
Yeah, but they do definitely have a lot of talent, make no doubt about it. Armagh, and the things, Matthew, I suppose, obviously, the game was at home for them, and I suppose Gazer was definitely going to be looking for a big response after the Ulster final, the disappointment that day. But look, they did get the win. Conor Turbot obviously did get the last minute winner, fair enough. Rian O'Neill had a good enough game, but I suppose a bit disappointed coming away from this particular performance. And then Tyrone this weekend, like.
Yeah, I'd say they'd be extremely disappointed, and a lot of Armagh fans, including Johnny, and there was a few from the sideline eye as well, say that Westmeath were robbed in this game, and it was kind of weird to hear at the same time that it was Armagh fans that were actually saying that.
But did a lot of people? Did a lot of people maybe underestimate how good Westmeath are when they put the foot down on the pedal? You know.
Maybe so, but at the same time, Westmeath were regarded as a Tailteann Cup team before Tyrone. And right, so when you look at their results so far, they struggled to get out of Division 3. They struggled badly in the second half against Louth, who subsequently lost to Cork as well. So, and got hammered by Dublin. So, I think there was a lot of people saying that Westmeath were awful for probably the right reasons, and Armagh would put them away. But it was just back to the old stuff again in the league for Armagh, really. I actually enjoyed Armagh, particularly last season when they played open, expansive football. They were probably the best team to watch in the whole entire country, and they were against Cavan, against Down. They were brilliant at playing, front foot, expansive football. But when they play, sweeper systems, defensive football, it gets boring, it don't think it suits Armagh at all. I really don't. Like, even the last league game against Tyrone, that was their best performance of the league. And what did they play? Open, expansive football. They scored 116, conceding 118. I know there's question marks about Armagh's defence and all that, but like it's kind of a situation. If their defence suffers, their attack excels. But if their attack suffers, their defence excels. So it's
no in between. No in between.
That's the thing, and that's a big thing for Armagh going forward. If they are going to challenge a few teams, like they have the numbers. I think Geezer's a very good coach. I think Rian O'Neill is an outstanding talisman. It's just to get the balance right between attack and defence to go on that one step further. Will they do it in the next years? Probably so. They'll probably do it with a different manager, unfortunately for Geezer though, because how long here? 2015 since then?
Yeah,
so
it's
long time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose, Matthew, like, where do you sit on that whole thing? And I know, obviously, like, I was reading a couple of tweets last, like, and I know Armagh fans are very passionate and they love their football, like any county man, like any county supporter. But I suppose, where do you sit on the whole Kieran McGeady thing? Like, he has been there, 9-10 years at this stage, and not even maybe a league title to show for that. Very close to winning Langrosel a couple of weeks ago. That didn't even happen for them either. So it was where do you sit on that whole, I suppose, I wouldn't say Armagh love-in for Kieran McGeady, but I suppose that sort of buy-in for what, if you get me, like, I know he is an Armagh legend. He delivered on, like, he was the captain back in 2002, but that's 20 odd years ago, Matthew.
That's the thing. Like, I'm more so, I know it's a generic answer, but I'm actually on the fence with this. Like, I think he's an incredible manager, and they gave an incredible group of players, Armagh.
Yeah.
The problem is getting the balance right, and he's taking one step further. But when you look at it, last year, they lost to the All-Ireland finalists who went all the way to the well with Kerry. They lost on penalties. And in the Ulster final, they lost on penalties as well. It was just basically they didn't practice penalties in training. And that's just a new with the GA. I think it's kind of mixed. Like, you could see Armagh's fans' point of view. Like, they have brilliant players and they just aren't making the steps that they need to make. But at the same time, like, they are close to an All-Ireland. They are close to an Ulster title. What's denied them is a penalty shootout twice. And that's the big thing with Armagh. I think, look, it is a very difficult one to call. What do you think yourself, John? Do you think Armagh fans are too hard on them?
Well, I wouldn't say hard on him. Like, I think they give him a lot of praise, give him a lot of credit, and I know what he's done for maybe Armagh football in years gone by. But I just think, and I've said this probably on numerous podcasts, I'd be talking to Johnny Murtagh most days, and not Johnny loves his Armagh football, but I just think it could be a time for a change in the guard. I think it's maybe gone a bit stale. I think if the God, like, I know Kieran Donaghy's there, and like we know about the strengths that Kieran Donaghy has as a coach and the player, but I just think I think it probably is time for change. And I know obviously like the Armagh public, to be very much Geezer in and keep Geezer, but I think if they got someone in to maybe, play to get coach the strengths of the players and maybe shake things up a bit and try different systems, try new things, because I just think, as you're rightly saying, this defensive football, this kind of negative football, it doesn't really suit this, the Armagh players that they have. And like last year, we all probably enjoyed watching Armagh, but I just think it probably is time for change. And I think he probably has been in the hot seat for quite some time at this stage, and just not to have any success within that period. Like, if that was a Cork manager, if that was a Cavan manager, and we were in the same position, like, I'm presuming you'd be saying the same thing, no matter if it was even, Daniel Coughlin, like, he hasn't took part as coaching. I know he's a Cork legend. Like, let's say, for instance, if he was in the hot seat for 9 years, you'd nearly be kind of saying to yourself, right, like, what's the story here? Likewise with Cavan, if we had any kind of, I suppose, Cavan legends taking over the Cav job, you would be asking questions after 9 or 10 years, so make no doubt about it. So, yeah, to be honest with you, I think it probably is the time for change, but obviously Armagh fans think different, Matthew.
Yeah, it is a very, and you make a very good point there about the legendary figure coming in, and you probably would have expected more, especially him being captain in 2002. You would have thought he would have rose the players up, but you have to remember where Armagh were at when he took over. They were a qualifier team back in the day. Like, they always went out in maybe round 2, round 3 of the qualifiers, and usually Armagh didn't put up a fight really, but he's developed this team year on year and year. Like, you look at him, even I was at a match in 2018 when they played Roscommon in round 4 of the qualifiers, the round before the quarterfinals. I thought they played brilliant football that day, but they just couldn't get over the line. But then the next years, they reached an All-Ireland quarter-final. Finally, last year, they nearly get to an All-Ireland semi-final. I think this year, they need to get to an All-Ireland semi-final, Armagh, to make the next step. If they don't do that, I think Geezer might lead. But if he reaches an All-Ireland semi-final, I'd just say it'd be very interesting for the Armagh fans' point of view then. So it's going to be very interesting few months for Armagh. They have a very good group of players. But then again, at this present moment in time, but you do have to remember where Armagh were at when Kieran McGeady, how far he's taken them in this period of time. Like I get back to maybe another sport in soccer, and I know you're a Manchester United fan, John, but like Manchester United were a mess when Jose Mourinho left. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer takes over. Then he gets the top four, gets them a few good wins. But the thing was making the next step. Premier League title, trophies, all that. It's kind of the same situation with Armagh at this present moment in time. Yeah. And I think that's why probably Armagh fans are frustrated that Geezer isn't getting the success that these Armagh players crave at the moment. But that's just a viewpoint anyway. But it's going to be interesting the next few weeks or months even.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look. So what's that saying? Kev has doctors differ patients' eyes. So we will wait and see. But so is that your opinion? That's my opinion. Everyone has opinions, but in my opinion, I think if Armagh can't push themselves on even in these group stages games, I think it could be time for Mr. McGeady to step aside. But we will wait and see and move on to Park Talton. It was Cork 119, Louth 117. Mr. Hurley, I was watching this game back today. A remarkable game of football. Either team really could have went on and won it. Louth, Samuel Roy kicked some unreal scores. Mr. Hurley up front, Mr. Sherlock up front as well. It really was a terrific game of football, ebbed and flowed up and down the pitch. So much action, and Cork just about snuck it.
They did, and life as a Cork fan, really, John. Going up to now, thinking this is going to be a tight game, but then the hopes get up when Brian O'Driscoll scores that goal, and it made West Cork as well, which is I'm from West Cork, which is
brilliant. Love it.
Brian Hurley robs the ball from Castlehaven, passes it to Rory Dean from Bantry Blues into Brian O'Driscoll from back of the net. Brilliant.
Back of the net, yeah.
And a brilliant weekend for West Cork. John Hodnett getting the winning try for Munster as well from Rosscarbery. So West Cork had a brilliant weekend.
You're happy man this week.
Exactly. The whole of West Cork will be absolutely thriving. But and the first half in general for Cork was very, very good. Very good showing in fairness. But then the second half, there was a few lapses of concentration, and the kick out was the big thing. When Liam Jackson got that goal, or Cardin RT, Conor Corbett got that goal, and Louth were back again completely after that. But I was impressed actually with the Cork long kickouts. I thought once Micheál Martin put the ball down, kicked the ball long, I thought Rory Dean, Colin O'Callaghan, and Ian Maguire, I thought they're probably three of the best fielders in the country at the moment. Yeah. When you look at the game against Louth, like the amount of ball they field, especially in the last few minutes when John O'Rourke and Conor Corbett get them deciding scores, I thought they were absolutely crucial. And a brilliant victory for Cork in the end, a morale boosting victory as well. Like after the last three games, Cork needed that win. They badly needed it, and they got the win in the end. Hopefully that assures Cork place in the preliminary quarter-final. But a side note on Louth, Samuel Roy, it was great to see him in the finish. What a player.
Yeah, like, he lived up to the billing.
Yeah, some of the points he was taking. Like there was one in the
he's such a classy footballer. Yep.
And what was even more classier, like on the pitch he was majestic, but as well after the final whistle, you would have thought Louth would be absolutely devastated, gut-wrenched after that performance, especially after this. But Roy was still signing autographs and taking photos with kids afterwards.
Right, okay.
He's an incredible, ambassador for the game, incredible for Louth GA, and incredible football. Very good performance. 8 points. What a show. Unreal footballer. And I think he's up there with, I think one of the Louth supporters said at the Sunday game, we have our own David Clifford and Samuel Roy, and most fans will go on about it and say, maybe that's a bit delusional talk, but having been seen now in Navan on Saturday,
classy.
I definitely concur with him. What a brilliant player. And I think he's one of the top 10 players in the country, John. I think he's that
Yeah,
good.
yeah, he probably is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I was watching closely today. Like, I was just, when you're watching the Saturday game back, and like even his bit of like even when he's on the ball, like he's always kind of plotting ahead. Like it's obviously a really, really good sign for that. But even just kind of like all that we like Sean Cavan at Domi, like all the little jinks and the little like his strike through a ball is just sensational. Like he is so good to watch. Obviously Louder delighted to have him. I think he'll only thrive under Mickey Hard as well, and Horse, and I think it's an upwards trajectory for Mr. Mulroy. He is a fantastic talent, and in fairness, I was very impressed by Brian Driscoll for Cork. Like he really got himself about the place. He kicks some lovely scores, and he's definitely a man to watch.
He definitely is, and the trajectory of Brian O'Driscoll is very interesting actually, because he came into the Cork team as a centre back in, I think it was 13, 14, 15. He was centre back in that final draw against Kerry down in Killarney. His last appearance for Cork before this season was against Tyrone in Portlaoise. Tyrone absolutely obliterated Cork, and you would have thought Brian O'Driscoll would come back into the team. But last season, he performed brilliant for the divisional side in the Cork County Championship for Carberry. He was a leader in that side from midfield. He's now playing in the forwards for Cork, and he's doing well in fairness to him. Like there was a few bits of criticisms around Brian O'Driscoll in the past, but I thought he was very, very good now on Saturday. I thought he was feeding the ball well. I thought his finishing was brilliant. Like even not just the goal, which was well taken in fairness to him, but the point as well late on in the game, which actually gave Cork going into the stretch. Like it was well taken and badly needed for Cork. And I think himself, Rory Dean, who's come in to the panel after being out for a year or so as well. I think both of those are brilliant additions to the Cork team. And you look at Colm O'Callaghan and Ian Maguire in midfield. Like I think Cork actually have a strong spine around the middle. And I think the spread of scores as well was impressive. 10 different scores. Yeah. Whereas the Clare game, there was 4 different scores with Sherlock scoring 10 points. Yeah. And Brian Hurley scored 8 points. But then you had Brian O'Driscoll with 1-1. The midfield combined 4 points. So brilliant performance, I think, from Cork all over the field. And I think they'll take confidence going into the Kerry and Mayo games. And as well, John, there's no pressure in Cork going into those games either. So
have a quote as man says, but I think it really was such a remarkable game of football. Like there was none of this kind of defensive stuff, and like I know obviously the Saturday game probably showed the best bits, but like it was score for score, it was pound for pound. Either team could have went on and won it. Cork just got a few lucky breaks at the end and obviously pushed on. Of course, Louth would be disappointed with like a few elements off that, but it was a gorgeous day up in Park Talton. You were at the game live. It was just, it's what we want to see in the football championship. It's what we buy the tickets into games. Like this is the type of games we want to see, Matthew. And I suppose there nearly wasn't enough talk about this Louth and Cork game about the quality of it.
There wasn't really, and probably that's because it wasn't shown live. And I was actually just to go up there, and it was a brilliant. What I would say about Park Talton, actually, I mean, like fans will actually go there. What an immaculate pitch! Like it might be a bit rusty around the stands, but I think the pitch is absolutely one of the best pitches in Ireland. I think even in Park Keeve and Crow Park, I think it's that much of a carpet. It is very, very well set up, and like even the match itself, like 2 attacking sides. Like there was a bit of worry before the game because the last year's game between the 2 sides ended 2-12 to 2-8, and there was a lot of concerns about defensive football in this. But both sides went for it. In fairness to them, and I didn't think Louth would go for it. In all honesty, because you looked at against Dublin, they went for it and they got pummels. They conceded 21, and you wouldn't have thought they'd repeat the trick, but they did. In fairness to them, they weren't shy to play very expansive football. And some bits of the Saturday game, actually, like they didn't show probably some of the main parts. Like towards the end, Kieran Keenan hit a shot, and I thought it honestly ended up at the back of the net, and it was but it went over the bar, it turned out. But yeah, it was a very frantic game. It was just relief really from Cork fans just to come out with the win, and fair play to Louth as well. I wish Louth all the best. Like actually, we met a Louth fan coming out of the game, and he was saying, you do your job and beat Kerry, we beat Mayo, and we can both we have that fairy tale did. So
no pressure.
Good bit of crack with the Louth fans as well. So brilliant day all around, and glad to be up there.
Yeah. Good stuff, Matthew. Good to hear you had a good day at the office. And of course, the win is very, very important as well. So on both teams go, massive task, but great game of football. And thank God it happened, because we are moving on to a game that probably wasn't fantastic. Yesterday in All-Ireland Senior Football Championship round 1 action in Croke Park, it was Dublin 111, Roscommon 14 points. Mr. Hurley, our colleague, Mr. Aaron Prendergast, was like a cut cat after this game. I was on to him earlier on about, I suppose, negativity, and maybe he probably is right in large parts, but maybe Dublin weren't the races in this particular game, or to save themselves a bit, for down the line. Who knows? But the big question is, Mr. Hurley, where are Dublin at?
First of all, John, I know Dublin will be absolutely gut-wrenched after that performance. I see Aaron's reactions, and I've seen the reaction to his video at half-time as well. Probably a comedy gold for the rest of the country.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, you have to give credit to Roscommon. I just think Roscommon are kind of going in under the radar. Kieran Martin, Kieran Lennon, Conor Cox, Donny Smith, they're very good players. And let's not forget, Roscommon were third in the league this year in Division 1. So I just think Roscommon are a bit going in under the radar. They beat Mayo, they got close to Galway. So I just think Roscommon deserve a bit more credit than what they're getting. And maybe they're a better team than Dublin are right now. I just think they've better players, they have a better structure. They probably, most likely, they have a better manager as well in Davy Burke. So, Roscommon, I just think you're a better team than Dublin at the moment. But Dublin, look, I think it's panic stages really for a small. But at the same time, they hammered Louth in the Leinster final in a brilliant performance, and they hammered Laois as well. Kildare, it was a poor performance. I will grant them that. But Roscommon, I just think Dublin fans, particularly Aaron and a few other Dublin fans online, I just think they aren't giving enough credit to Roscommon did what they deserve.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And maybe it's Dublin fans just being right, this is the team of old. But I think, these teams, everything comes to an end. Matthew, 6 All-Ireland fights in a row. I think, and I know we have fun with Aaron and all, but I think Aaron, he just will have to kind of get used to it. I know maybe he thinks Dessie Farrell isn't the man at this current minute of time. We'll wait and see if he can win Sam this year. But I think they will really have to just get back down to basics and realise that this is not the Dublin team of 16, 17, 18.
It isn't, no. And when you look at the players Dublin had in those years compared to now, and actually a camhead, Seamus Brady from Play On J, actually explained this to me as well. When you put them in black and white, the 16 and 17 team compared to now, who would you honestly have in the team? Would you have Dermot Connolly or Sean Bugler?
Yeah.
Be honest, Dermot Connolly all day long. Would you have Brian Rogan or Paddy Small? These arguments, they're not arguments, they're facts. You'd have Brogan, Connolly all day long. You'd have Michael Cawley above Tom Laheath. There's no offence there, but it's just the truth with Dublin at the moment, and it's just the end of the dominance is here, unfortunately for Aaron, unfortunately for any other Dublin fans.
Do you nearly think Dublin fans are kind of stuck in this bit of? I know obviously it's kind of like being a Man United fan, when Fergie left, maybe the standards dropped, and I would put that it's very similar situations, what's probably going on with Dublin and Man United to a degree, and maybe United's torture is probably going on for a lot longer than expected. Maybe I suppose you'd probably hope it keeps going on, but do you feel maybe Dublin fans are maybe stuck in a bit of a time warp, whereas these were the standards we are at, why aren't we still hitting these standards?
Yeah, definitely so. And I definitely agree with your point about Manchester United. And even looking at Liverpool in the 90s, the Liverpool fans back then, you go 30 years without a title when they were so dominant in the 80s. Another example in a GAA sense, when you look at hurling for a point of view, Cork in 2005 won the All-Ireland with Sean O'Halpine said Rebels a boo. Who would have said to Cork would go 19 years without an All-Ireland in hurling? Yeah. Time does stop then. And you look at Kilkenny hurlers, they haven't won an All-Ireland since 2015.
Exactly.
It does. Yeah. And Dublin fans need to take ownership of that. And when you look at Kerry as well, I know they won an All-Ireland in 14 and 22. Yeah. But when you look at the team in 09, that could have era stopped then. And Kerry fans, they just weren't used to it after that.
Yeah.
It stops eventually. The All Blacks, the New Zealand rugby team as well, winning the World Cup in 2015. Now they're in a bit of lull. It doesn't stop in every sport. And I think Dublin need to probably accept that at this particular moment in time. The players that they have now aren't the players that they had back in the day. The Paul Finn's, the Bernard Brogans, the Dermot Connolly, Michael Darley's, the Philly McMahons. Those players are gone, unfortunately. And probably just have to accept that. I honestly think Roscommon are a better team than Dublin right now. It's not a disrespect to Dublin. It's just more of a credit to Roscommon and how they've progressed this year or so.
If that game was in Croke Park, do Roscommon win it?
Probably.
Okay.
I think so. Like when you look at the hill is a major factor for Dublin, and when you look at John Small's goal in particular, it was a scrappy goal.
Not your Dublin of old, yeah.
Exactly, and I think the willingness from the fans of the hill probably got John Small to put that at the back of the net. And
literally, yeah.
But it is kind of I don't think Roscommon will complain as much as Kildare did, for example. Like Roscommon will just take it, but from a Roscommon point of view, for a minute now, I think they did perform better yesterday. But again, like Westmeath against Armagh, I think they'll be sickened by that, because it was an opportunity to get their first win in Croke Park since I think the 80s, I think it was, or maybe a while back anyway. Roscommon's record at Croke Park is pretty bad. So to get a win yesterday would have been amazing for the confidence there. They didn't, and look, they'll be disappointed. They will be disappointed.
Yeah.
If it was, I don't know, in Parnell Park, for example, I think Roscommon could have won that game.
Okay.
But we have to see over the next few weeks how Roscommon progress. But for example, in the next game, I think Roscommon would Sligo away with ease.
Yeah.
Where I think could struggle.
Yeah. It'll be very, very interesting few weeks. And obviously, David Burke will be, I suppose he will be fairly annoyed. And obviously, the Croke Park advantage. And I don't want to get into the Croke Park debate again, but obviously, like, as Davy coming away from this week, he will be quite disappointed, because he definitely would have targeted, I suppose, Dublin weakness. But like, regarding like Dublin, I suppose obviously Paul Mannion coming back, and I know Jack McCaffrey is unfit at the minute. That's what the word in the street is. But I suppose like them two lads coming back in, and I know obviously Aaron knows Dublin football more than us, but I suppose that maybe if you are a Dublin supporter, you're probably looking, it's probably like a quick fix, get these two boys in. But I just think they probably will need a lot more patience with what's there at the minute. And obviously, like, there is a lot of calls at Dessie Farrell potentially not being the man. And I know obviously it's all Ireland's or not really with Dublin, and the pressure that comes with that too. But you just really need to be realistic about where they're at the minute.
What worries me about Dublin is the young players, especially. Like when you look at the 2019 under-20s, the 2020 under-20s, them sorts of big game players for those sorts of sides aren't coming through as most people would imagine. Like Kieran Archer, where's he gone? You know,
Ross out of my mouth. Yeah, he took the words out of my mouth. Yeah.
Ross McGarry, Larkin O'Dell. Like, I know Lee Gallen's progressed, and fair play to him, in fairness to him. But most of them just haven't over the last few seasons. Padder O'Cuffik-Byrne, where's he gone? He was brilliant in the Cup, and he can't get in the team for one reason or another. Probably he's injured. I'm not sure, but
like it's mad. Like it's the secrecy within the Dublin Cat. Like, these lads just disappear. Like I think the Stephen Cluxton thing, him coming back, nobody heard anything about that. Like, it's just like it's like the Dublin players just can escape without anybody finding out. Like, it's crazy. Like the privacy that's within that setup.
Yeah, maybe so. And like, it is a difficult one. Like, Dessie Farrell is a very probably secretive manager. He doesn't come out to the media that often. Like even Caffrey coming into the panel last year, he came out new really, and Mannion as well. And even Craig Diaz was only coming into the panel, subconsciously in a way. But even Craig Diaz and a few of the Kilmacud players, why aren't they starting? Like, they're on form. I just think another issue with Dublin, if there is any, I just think they're picking players at the moment in terms of reputation.
But even Stephen Cluxton start, like, even like, don't get me wrong, the best goalkeeper we've ever seen, but like, surely Mr. O'Hanlon has to be saying to himself, like, I've been bursting my backside for the last 2 odd years when Clucko hasn't been about, and Clucko just even walks back onto the starting team. Like, does that not just show, like, I don't get me wrong, like, the best goalkeeper we've ever seen, his medal collection speaks for itself, but like, you have to be questioning things there if you can just walk straight back in.
Yeah, I actually feel so sorry for David O'Hanlon, because when he was in the league I know we're going back to Cork for a minute, but Brian Hurley's shot, if that goes in, Dublin could be in trouble of not going up to Division 1 and stay in a second Division 2. At the end of the day, David O'Hanlon saved it, tipped it onto the post with an outstanding save, and suddenly it drops. Like, what was that for? Like, he might be thinking that way. And I said this to Aaron a few weeks ago as well. He might think, and Cave said this about the Laois players a few weeks ago, and I agree with him. He could be on the phone to America. He'd be like, I'm gone. You know, what's the point of this thing?
Like, why did I just put in all that effort to,
That's the thing with David O'Hanlon, definitely. And don't get me wrong, Cluxton's an outstanding goalkeeper. He was a legendary goalkeeper back in the day. But nowadays, he's 41 now, John. You know, and you're putting him in instead of David O'Hanlon. And what's that saying? And we go back to the young players like the O'Cuffig Burns, the Kieran Archers, the Ross McGarrys. What's that saying to the young players? You're not good enough. Yeah. You know, that has a bad feel around the camp as well. And that could be a bad omen for Dublin in the next few years, especially when the older players will retire. The likes of Cluxton, he'll eventually have to. Mike Fitzsimons, Brian Fenton. Like, Brian Fenton's nearly 30 now. You know, you have to feel you have to get the replacements in sooner rather than later. And that's why I feel Mayo and Galway are doing absolutely. Galway are a prime example that Dublin should follow. They're mixing the older players with Comer, Walsh, Conroy, all them, with the younger talents in Tom O'Culhan, Matthew Tierney, Jack Lynn. They're integrating the older players there as well. And then younger players will get better and stronger. And Dublin are doing that. They're sticking with the same players again. And I just think big mistake for Desi Farr to make. Even Doyle Scully, for example. Look, he's an older player. Yes, he's done well in previous years in the 6-in-a-row team. But in previous years, honestly, what has Niall Scully done for Dublin? That question. So and the main thing is for them to bring in the younger players, and they haven't been doing so over the last few years. They need to bring Kieran Archer, Pat O'Cuffig Byrne, Ross McGarry, Larkin O'Dell. They need to, and David O'Hanlon, of course, bring to the panel, bring them in and integrate them with the older players, a bit like what Galway are doing. They're not doing that at the moment, and it's coming back to bite them.
Yeah, like some of them boys, like even Kieran Archer, like, oh my God, he was incredible for the under-20s. But it goes to show, like, our lads may be interested in coming into the Dublin panel. Is it too much of a time commitment? Our lads just enjoying playing club football with the lads who grew up with. Like, it's such a time commitment. The county, like, it's constantly on lads' minds. It's 5-6 days a week. So I don't know, is it a time thing? Is it like the commitment thing? It's very hard to know, but I just think if you're David O'Hanlon for Cluxton, just to kind of walk straight back in and get that jersey number one, I just don't. There's a cry a bit of desperation from Farrell even getting the boys back, so I'm just not sure. Then in fairness, I had Kieran Whelan on the podcast. He was during lockdown, and he was making the point that, you know, Dublin don't have a whole pile coming through. So, and people nearly said, John, that's completely off the charts. But Mr. Whelan was not wrong, Mr. Hurley.
Maybe not wrong, but like, I'm struggling to understand how did they reach 220 finals in a row if the talent isn't coming through. Yeah. Like, you look at 2019 and 2020. Probably they could have even won in that 2020 final. They were playing Galway in that, and they took them all the way to the win. And then Galway players like Culhan, Matthew Tierney, who were both in that team, and Matthew Tierney, we talked about him this season being a revelation. He was in that to face Dublin, and Dublin gave them massive problems. You know, so it's a big thing for Dublin to get these young players through, and even the minors. Look at their scorelines anyway. They put 6 goals past Offaly this season. So, like, talents there in that Dublin team, maybe not as much as Kerry, the Kerrys, the Corks, the Galways, the Mayos, maybe not as much as them. But there should be enough talent to beat the likes of Kildare and Lowe pretty handily. Yeah. Simple. No, so that's the thing with Dublin. Do I agree with Kieran Whelan? Obviously knows more than you and me put together about Dublin underage structures, but look, I just find it hard to comprehend how they reached 220 finals in a row and now this. You know, it's mind-boggling.
Where's the players? Like, and is it just a case of Desi Farrell sticking with the old faithful and getting the old faithful back, like Cluxton, Paul Mannion, and Jack McCaffrey, like remarkable players, probably some of the best players we've seen in the game, but I don't know. We need to see, well, obviously not from Cavan end of things or Cork end of things, but just if you're a Dublin fan, you have to be wondering where is the youth coming from, and an influx of new players with all the, I suppose, clubs that's in Dublin. It's very interesting, but we will wait and see, Matthew. And I suppose we can touch on briefly to this weekend's action. So many games. So of course, I think if we attack them individually and done analysis on them, I think we could be here till 12 midnight. So I'll just get a couple of answers on these games this weekend, Matthew. On Saturday, the 3rd of June, in the All Ireland Senior Football Championship Round 2. Your prediction for Cork v Kerry in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, 3 p.m. and the game will be live on JMac.
I'll say it in a few words. My heart says Cork, but my head says Kerry. Simple as. Look, Kerry are a brilliant side. They have Mr. Clifford up front, Sean O'Shea, brilliant players. But what I will say, before I cut to you, John, Cork have a better field than Kerry. And I will say that, like Rory Dean, Colin Buchanan, Ian Maguire, and Kerry are going to miss David Moore. And so if Cork push up on the Kerry kickouts, I think they could give Kerry a few problems in this game, and I think it could be tight, less than 10 points. That'll be a success for Cork in my book anyway.
Yeah. So to Kerry to get the job done, you're thinking?
Yeah, exactly. I think he'll be less than 10 points in the end because of the midfield, but Clifford and O'Shea should carry Kerry over the line this game.
It'll be interesting to see. That'll be interesting to watch. Just wait to see, can Cork maybe put up a good showing against the Kingdom, and Kingdom aren't in great form at the minute, so it could be the right time to be getting them. We will wait and see. Home advantage for Cork as well. We'll be keeping an eye on that one. And then you've Westmeath against Galway and TG Cusack Park, and of course the game is at 5 p.m.
You have to fancy Galway for this. Like Westmeath, as we mentioned earlier, would be sickened by that result against Armagh. I think they'd put up 100% again. They'll give it everything, them Westmeath lads. But Galway, Matthew Tierney, Tom O'Callaghan, Shane Walsh, Comer, they just ooze that. And I think Galway should have too much for Westmeath in this game.
Yeah, I think so myself. I know home advantage for Westmeath, but I think Galway are absolutely stacked. I know Westmeath have a lot of good ballers too, but I think it'd be one of the scalps of the weekend if Westmeath would get the job done. But I think Galway's class will shine through in the end. And then you've Kildare against Dublin in UPMC Nona Park at 5 p.m. Of course, going to be live on Go. Mr. Hurley, the Dubs are on the road.
They are, and they're going down to a hurling venue, and surprisingly enough, actually, they played in Nolan Park 2016, and some of the Dubs didn't realise that. But look, I think Kilkenny will be absolutely raging at this thing. At the big ball being kicked around in their stadium, and
I don't know what's going to happen.
Jesus, I don't know. Like, although I have heard Paul Murphy from the hurling pod is actually a decent footballer. He won a junior medal, so Kilkenny, like, they might be watching this with interest. You might not know. Yeah, exactly. But in terms of the game in general, Kildare need to start their main players. They need to start Kevin Flynn, Daniel Flynn, Darragh Kieran.
They need everything.
They need it. Yeah, and need it in spades to win it against Dublin. And if they don't win this game, Glen Ryan will have no excuse to go home with them. So will I go for a Kildare win in this game? Geez, I'm not brave enough. Probably Kev or Johnny, if they were on tonight, would probably be brave enough to go for a Kildare win. Geez, I can't back against Dublin. I know Kildare performed well against them last time, but Kildare struggled in Division 2 for a reason. So I think Dublin should have too much in the end.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Mr. Glen Ryan gives out about after this particular game. If Dublin win it narrowly, it's not going to be in Cork or Mr. Ryan, so you may get used to it. But I think Dublin probably will just about shade it. Do we see an angry Dublin this weekend? Do we see a Dublin get over the line? We will wait to see. But I think, will the real Dublin please stand up for a Dublin fan? End of things. And big one this weekend, Mr. Hurley, Tyrone against Armagh, O'Neill's Healy Park. Game will be live on RT2, and it'll be thrown in at 7 p.m. Matthew. The whole of Ireland will be watching that one.
They will do, yeah, and it's great. It's free to air, isn't it, on a Saturday evening? I think this is the second game that's free to air on a Saturday this season after the Joe McDonagh Cup final last week. So well done, after that, but long overdue.
Finally get the finger out of the backside, to say the least.
Exactly, yeah, and what a game to do so. In fairness, Tyrone and Armagh, and an intriguing encounter. Tyrone won the league game in Healy Park, the exact same venue in the league, 118 to 116. I'd have to back Tyrone again. Like, Armagh would have exerted a lot of energy in the last few minutes to turn around that game against Westmeath. I think Tyrone should do enough in this game. And I don't know, is Frank Burns available for this game?
I haven't heard. Yeah.
Even if he's not, like I'd say, Tyrone should have enough in this game. Like Armagh need to perform much better than they did on Saturday night to get over Logan and Deward men.
Yeah. I think it was last week. I think it was Johnny Murder was saying that Colin McShane left the Tyrone panel, and then I put up a Twitter about him leaving the panel, and I got a few tweets back saying otherwise. And people were saying he was going to the AFL. People said he left the panel, and people said he's injured. So I heard 3 stories. The power of social media, Mr. Hurley.
Exactly, yeah, and we talked about the horror of social media at the start for the wrong reasons, but those are for the light-hearted reasons as well, and Aaron's video as well. So what would we do without social media, in all honesty, John? And even the tweet from Kieran McCarthy for the Southern Star earlier on about the Cork hurlers going out the All-Ireland series. There's a little battle of the footballers happening on Saturday as well, so that was a good tweet as well. So we have these good posts on social media, and I know there's the bad world of social media, but at the same time, what would we do without it, John?
Yeah. What we do without it, and what we could do without it as well. And with it can fry the head at the minute, but of course, it's good for information. But there's a nasty side to it as well. But we'll wait and see this weekend. Tyrone Armagh, who's going to win it?
I'm going to go for Tyrone. I'm going to go from slightly in this game. I just think they have fast players, not McShane. Like they have Darragh Canavan, they have Darragh McCurry, Matty Donnelly's an outstanding footballer. I think Tyrone should have too much Armagh here. Yeah,
I think Armagh, a lot of pressure on Armagh to deliver the goods as well. We'll wait and see, and then we'll go on to Taunton Cup action round 3 on Saturday. First game of the weekend, you have Meath against Down in Parnell Park, 1 p.m. And of course, the game will be live on GAA. Go, Matthew.
I'd have to back Down here. I think Down should win this game. Like Meath haven't scored more scores than their opponents in any game other than against Division 4 side. So I'm expecting that to continue for Colin O'Rourke and his team, but they just don't have the players at the moment, Meath. So I just think Down should have enough.
Be an interesting game. Of course, we'll be live on GA Go, so we'll get tuned into that. Fingers crossed. And then, Matthew, hold back your sight, but here, Tipperary against Waterford in Páirc Uí Chaoimh at 1 p.m. Have you got your tickets yet?
Well, I'll go to the Cork and Kerry game at 3 o'clock. I'm not geez, I don't know, John, will it be worth us really? You would just hearing hands being kicked and things like that in this game, unfortunately, because Tip and Waterford just don't have the football following. Despite Waterford are hurling championships, so you may as well support the footballers, no lads. Jeez, you know what? At the start of the season, I said for bet of the week Waterford would beat Tipperary, and it's backfired on me. Will I go for it again? You know what? I'm going to go Waterford to beat Tipperary.
There we go.
You know, that's going to be my shock of the weekend. I'm going to go for Waterford to beat Tipperary in Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
Matthew Hurley, you are a brave man. I don't know if I'll back you in this particular juncture, but who knows? It's the Taunton Cup. Anything happens. But we will wait to see. It's brave, but Páirc Uí Chaoimh, 1 p.m. I'm not sure. We'll wait and see with that one this weekend. But it's, I think Tipperary might just make it. But will people be at the crowd? The crowd will be low. We'll wait and see, and then we'll move on to Cavan against Offaly in Glennon Brothers Pierce Park, 3 p.m. Matthew Hurley.
Tight game this, and I think Cavan will learn a lot from coming up against Offaly, because Offaly are a very good side. But no disrespect to Laois and London, I don't think they're the suitable opponents for Cavan. But I think Cavan should have enough in this game. But Offaly will put it up to them. Like, they have very good players in Peter Cunningham, Cian Farrell, but Cavan just said too much. Like Darragh McVitie's very good this season. I have to say, in a very new position, I'd imagine, John, at half back this season. He's a baller in many ways, like Gareth McKieran and Paddy Lynch, very good footballer. So I'd say you'd be a happy man on Saturday afternoon, and Cavan should win it.
Yeah, and obviously news in recent days. Matthew James Smith has obviously left the Cavan panel. He was playing for his club at the weekend, and I was playing against the club on Saturday. So when we seen Mr. James Smith talking out of midfield, it probably wasn't the best sight, but yeah, Mr. James Smith has left the Cavan panel, and I haven't got confirmed reports about as to why. Is it down maybe to wanting to play for his club a bit more? I'm not overly sure, but A huge loss in Mr. Hurley.
It was probably because he seen you on the pitch, wasn't it, John?
Yeah. Game over. Get me out of the county.
Jeez.
See me on the bench, more like. See me on the bench, God almighty.
Jeez. I'd say come on for a good 10 minutes or so, John, would you?
I'd be a 10-minute man. Do I look like a 10-minute man? 5-minute man. Halftime show, Matthew. That's what the crack is. That's when people sipping on their tea and drinking whatever and eating whatever. That's when, oh Jesus, you kicked a great score there at halftime. Pity you couldn't do that. Pity you couldn't do that in the actual game. But that's the GA public, Mr. Hurley.
At least you'd get to enjoy the Monday club, So that's a big thing as well. But, yeah, I'd say James Smith would be a big loss to Cavan, definitely so. But Cavan should have more players to step up for the Tailteann Cup in general. But yeah, he might miss out on the Tailteann Cup medal, which is particularly sad, really, because James Smith is a smashing player there for Cavan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, he's a big loss to that Cavan setup. Make no doubt about it. He had a good game on Saturday as well, but such is life. County football does not put food on the table, and James Smith, we wish you well, and I hope to see you back in the Cavan jersey next year because, my God, we will need you in Division 2. We will move on to Laois against London, Parnell Park, 3 p.m. Mr. Hurley.
I'm surprised this game wasn't played in the middle of the sea, John, because it's a neutral.
Very good.
But you have to back Laois to win the game. Like, I've been impressed with Laois, its forward line in particular, like Mark Barry, Evan O'Carroll. Especially against Cavan, the game I watched them, I thought they some very good footballers, in fairness to them. London, unfortunately, very, very poor this season. They didn't score for God.
The wheels really... And sorry, Matthew, but like the wheels really have fell off for London. Like I was talking to Michael Maher probably around this time last year, and he was 50-50 about going back in. And he was, in fairness, if he was to go back in, he's going to be all positive from getting lads on board. But maybe lads have left the London panel in the last couple of months, and maybe time constraints and like the commitment of it all. But it's so unfortunate for Michael because like he was so passionate about the game and so passionate for London football. But yeah, the wheels have fell off the bus, unfortunately.
Fortunately, so on. I think it's going to fall off even more now against Laois. Like Laois, look, it's seasoned outfit more than London anyway, and they should get into the next round. I think Billy Sheehan would actually be happy with Laois's progress in the group. Like they drew against Offaly, came close in patches against Cavan and Breffley Park, which was encouraging, and they'll beat London on the weekend. So I think Billy Sheehan would be happy more so about this campaign in the Tailteann Cup rather than the Division 4 campaign, and a good stepping stone for Laois finally.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. But yeah, I think Laois, I wouldn't say Laois at their ease, but I think that should be maybe a 5 to 6 point win for them this weekend. And then we'll move on to action on Sunday, Matthew, in the All Ireland Senior Football Championship round 2. You have Mayo against Louth in Hastings McHale Park at 2 p.m. Of course, the game will be live on RT2.
After talking to that Louth fan after the game in Navan, you'd be hoping they'd win now against Mayo. They keep their promise and do their side of the bargain. But I just think like Samuel Roy, like Mayo will have their hands full with him. Incredible footballer, but I just think Mayo look very, very good. I was at that game against Kerry as well in Fitzgerald Stadium. They looked just fitter than Kerry. They looked seasoned. They looked a very, very good team. They have very good forwards. Aidan O'Shea is doing well this season. Ryan O'Donoghue is doing well in the corner. Tommy Conroy can come off the bench as well. Their midfield is very good in O'Connor and Matthew Rowan. So they look strong this year, Mayo, and I think they'll get even stronger as the year goes on, and they'll beat Louth on Sunday. Yeah,
I think it's probably one of the more foregone conclusions of the weekend. I'd be very surprised if Mickey Hart can get a result up in Mayo, but we will wait and see. But I think Mayo have that one wrapped up and they get more confidence from it. And then you have Monaghan against Clare in Clones at 2 p.m. Monaghan by a few, I would be thinking, Mr. Hurley.
Probably so, yeah. And it's so unfortunate for Clare when you think about it, because when you think about it at the start of the championship, they beat Cork, and that was ecstatic scenes there. They beat Limerick.
Yeah.
They get a hammering off Kerry in the Munster final. They lose to a Donegal team who could have lost to anybody really in the championship, and now they're going up to Clones to face a Monaghan team that would have been buoyed after last Saturday. So it doesn't look good for Clare, and you'd almost feel sorry for them after how the season transpired after looking so promising, but Monaghan should be too strong for them, especially at home.
Yeah, Yeah, I think so. Home advantage would be key in that one. If it was in Clare, I think Monaghan might struggle to get over the line, but I think home advantage would be key, and I think Monaghan will progress in that particular one. And then, good potential good game here. Roscommon against Sligo in Dr. Hyde Park at 3 p.m. Of course, the game will be live on GA Go, Mr. Hurley.
You'd have to fancy Roscommon looking at the outset, but Sligo will definitely put it up to them. Like, they put it up to Clare. Why can't they put it up to Roscommon? They look good, Sligo. They look, their players look very good, actually. Like Patrick O'Connor, Pat Bland Jr., of course. Like, his dad was an excellent footballer, and he's not far behind either. Niall Murphy, 6 points the last day, very good performance. Although Roscommon, having said all that, should beat Sligo at home, especially in the Hyde. But Sligo, it's a rivalry. They'll put it up to Roscommon to the bitter end, but I just think Roscommon, look at their players so far and their performance against Dublin, they should have enough.
Yeah, I think all the signs definitely point towards that direction. And then, I suppose, Ulster game this weekend, Donegal against Derry in Ballybuffet at 4 p.m. The game will be live on RT2. This fixture would have been good 3-4 years ago. Not this time around, Mr. Hurley.
No, not really. But I'd be interested to see what Donegal team turns up really in this game. Because when you look at them against Clare, I thought they performed admirably, in fairness to them, like getting up back in the horse. Like Kieran Thompson scored 4 points, Oisin Gallen scoring 4 points. I think Donegal actually did well and went against the farm book, whereas Derry kind of struggled against Monaghan, and they've struggled ever since the Ulster semi-final to find a bit of momentum. So I think Donegal could actually put it up to Derry. Having said all that, I think Derry should have enough to win the game. They just lose class. Like Shane McGuigan's very good. And Benny Hearn, if he catches form, he could be good. Lachlan Murray, Conor Glass. I just think Derry have better players than Donegal, and they should have enough. But Donegal, I don't think will disgrace themselves after showing the fight against Clare last time out.
Yeah. Don't know. Funny feeling about this particular one. I think Derry weren't overly brilliant against Monaghan, but I don't know. I think Derry, I know home advantage for Donegal, but I just the way Derry are moving, I think Derry seem to be like the Donegal of maybe 2012 or 13 on an upward trajectory, but I think this could be a bit of a Derry hammer, but we will wait and see. And then briefly on these games, Matthew, in the Tall Cup round 3, Limerick Wicklow, Laois Highmore Park. Game is at 1 p.m. on Sunday.
Relevant game because Limerick are confirmed tops, Wicklow are confirmed bottom, but just for the sake of it, we'll win the game.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think so. And then Longford, Carlow, Laois Highmore Park, 3 p.m. That's obviously a double header with the game beforehand.
Yeah, it's a big enough game, this game. Like Longford, they look good in fairness. Like you look at the players they have in Owen Kenny, Jack Duggan's a very good forward. Darren Gallagher in midfield. Carlow have done well against the odds so far, but I think Longford should have enough. I think they have better players than Carlow and should win the game in the end. And second in the group for Longford. I'm not sure Longford fans would have expected that at the beginning of the Tailteann Cup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously Paddy Christie finally get the bounce off the Longford lads, and they will move on to Wexford against Leitrim in Parnell Park at 3 p.m.
Leitrim's confidence is down the drain, to be honest with you, John. It's unfortunate for Andy Moore because you'd love to see him play, but I just think the confidence was sucked out of them after the New York game, and I think Wexford, who are finding a bit of form themselves under John Haggerty, should win the game.
Yeah, be interesting. Geez, none of these games are even live in GA Go. Don't know, does that do the Tailteann Cup promotion any good? But we'll move on to Fermanagh against Antrim in Boxit Athletic Grounds at 3 p.m. I think this is the 50 millionth time these teams have played each other, Mr. Hurley.
I think Kev would be absolutely sick of the sight of Fermanagh.
Oh my God. I'm not even from either county, and I'm sick of the sight of them.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be more sick of the sight of Fermanagh because how many times have Cavan played Fermanagh now?
Oh my God, I know. Even Ulster Championship, like 13, 12, I think, 11, 10, 9. Yeah, too many times. Normally got over the line against the Buck, yeah. But Antrim Fermanagh, it just, oh my God, it dominated the 15s and the 16s and the 14s and the 13s, like.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the two counties that are underwhelming and Ulster at the same time as well. Which makes it So, but at the same time, this is actually a crucial game. As boring as it might sound, Fermanagh need to win. the group and go straight through to the quarterfinals. Antrim a draw will be enough. I think Fermanagh should have enough. I think they have the players to do it. Also, Ken's a brilliant player. Sean Quigley, so I'm not sure if he fit for this game. He should have a major say in the game. Ryan Lyons is a very good player. Antrim won 2 games from 2. Fair play to them. But I think this game could be a far, far too big a step for them.
Yeah. Yeah, no games live on GA Go or RTE for the Tailteann Cup. Does that do the Tailteann Cup any good, or am I overthinking this particular one, Mr. Hurley?
They probably should have showed 1 game on Sunday. I know they showed 1 game on the Saturday, but at least that, even for the GA Go, it's coverage there. You should even show it. But even on the Saturday game, I think it was, they only showed 1 game in each group. One night in the Saturday game, they didn't even show Limerick, and on the week they didn't even show that game. And that was very, very poor form. But I'd imagine the Sunday game and the Saturday game won't go near the Tailteann Cup this weekend because of the scheduling. And I think, and I know
that's so many games on this weekend. Like holy moly! Like I can't. It'd be hard to keep track.
It will, and as people have said past to me as well, there's no time for previews. There's no time to delve into these games. There's no time, and that's the big thing with this. And I just think it's quite a rush the GA season at the moment. It's kind of
very rushed. It is very. It's week on week. Like it is. You'd nearly be uncomfortable about how quick it's all going.
It is definitely. And would it be worth trialing out? I'm not sure what you think about this, John, but would it be worth trialing out? Having, especially this weekend of all weekends, the bank holiday weekend, have a game on the bank holiday Monday, have a few games on the Friday.
Yeah. Well, trial and error. Like any change would be good and changing it up. But I just think like all these games. I know obviously we have the National League, but I think when it comes to Championship, like it's the pride and joy of our GA calendar, and it just seems very rushed and condensed, and we need to bang all these games out. Like it just I know obviously these the split season does the club players a lot of good, whatever. But I just think, as you rightly said there a couple of seconds ago, it just bang, and it just nearly too much at once.
Yeah, exactly, and I think it's draining on players as well. When you think about the players playing last weekend, like for example, I know we're talking. I'm talking about Cork. It's too much probably in this pod. But when you look at the injuries that Cork sustained, Sean Meehan and Tommy Walsh both went off with hamstring injuries. Rory McGuire got a hamstring injury. That's going to the Kerry game next week. Kerry had 2 weeks to rest. Cork had 1. There's a bit of inequality there. And there's inequality in some counties as well. When you look at, I'll take you another example now of a county, Westmeath, for example, played last weekend. Now they have to play Galway this weekend with Galway had a 2 weeks rest. You know how that's. It's ridiculous at times, and I just think it's way too much games, way too much. Like every county playing a game this weekend. I mean, way too much. No time to delve into the games, and think about it. Kerry wasn't setting a headline on Sunday. The weekend was there. Why was that? Because the hurling was on Sunday, and people just instantly too many games. And I just think that's the main thing with the Saturday and the Sunday games nowadays. But look, the GA, they'll find some way to mess up the schedule, and they've done so far.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, probably us Irish probably love giving out, but I know from a spectator point of view, like watching all the games this weekend, I know if you're out having a few beers this weekend, game after game after game, and you can have the crack with the lads and blah blah blah. But I don't know, like obviously me and you preview and reviewing these games, like it's just. Probably a lot at once, and then you have the championship over the middle of July. So I don't know, a lot too soon. But that is the GA for you. I would love to know. I keep saying this. I'd love to know who was making the shots and calls and all this. But we'll wait and see. And just before we go, Matthew, I forgot to do it at the start, but I'll run through it now. The GA.E football team of the week was Rory Beggan, Chrissy McCaig, Owen McAvoy, and Aidan Falker. The half-back line was Carl O'Connell, John Small and Niall Daly. Then a midfield of Ian Maguire and John Hesland. Then a half-forward line of Kieran Murtagh, Cormac Costello and Rian O'Neill. And then a full-forward line of Samuel Roy, Shane McGuigan and Brian Hurley. That's probably the best forward line, half-forward line and full-forward line in the country. Maybe bring Clifford into that. We will wait and see. Fine team. But Mr. Hurley, out of all of this and that, your player to watch this weekend and bet of the weekend, I wish you luck with that one.
Yeah, definitely so. Okay, it's a lot of pressure on me now. Being the We'll go for it anyway.
Yeah.
Jesus. I'm probably going to edge it towards Ryan O'Donoghue for Mayo. Okay. I think he looks the real deal. I think he could open up against Louth. And bet of the weekend, I'm going to go for it. I went for it once. I'll go for it again. Waterford to beat Tipperary in the Tailteann Cup. So there you go.
Neck on the line, Mr. Hurley. That's what creates the headlines, and fair play to my man. We'll wait and see. It could be that one of the weekends. It could be a few surprises. Loads of games happen. It'll be hard to keep up with it all. Hopefully there's few surprises. Hopefully the quality is good and people have a great bank holiday weekend, because there is a variety and cocktail football this weekend. Mr. Hurley from the GA Statsman, thank you very, very much for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by orgarech.com. Use the promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on their website. Enjoy that weather. Have a great week. Cheers, sir.
Thanks very much, John.